Welcome, Melanie. Thank you for recording this testimonial. Can you maybe introduce yourself and tell us why you're learning French?
Sure. Melanie Olson, and I live in Vancouver in Canada. And so that's a long ways away from most French-speaking Canadians that are quite a bit more out east. And ever since I was a young girl, I've wanted to learn French. French was introduced as a second language in Canada back when I was in about grade 7. And so about 12, 13 years old. And it's captivated me ever since. And now as an adult, I can finally learn the language. I didn't really learn it when I was going to school, and grade school and high school. So yeah, so I've always wanted to learn the language.
And you also have a sort of a professional use for it, right? In your business?
Yes, yeah. In my business, we work with nurses from across Canada. And of course, there are nurses who live in Quebec, and those nurses we would like to be able to talk with. And I'm the only one in my office who speaks any amount of French. So yes, we would definitely like to be able to work with those nurses and speak the language with them.
Can you maybe tell us where you were at in your French study before you started working with me?
Sure. I had my kids entered into French immersion. And they offered some lessons there. And so I started taking a few lessons once a week, and it was good. It was quite good. And but I still wasn't advancing as quickly as I wanted to. I had been to France twice. Once 10 years ago and once just this past summer. And this past summer, I was definitely able to carry on a conversation, albeit very limited. 10 years ago, I couldn't almost do anything. So we were supposed to return again this fall, so a year later. And I really wanted this time to be able to carry on a full conversation, a much more substantive, robust conversation. So my conversation skills were okay. I could certainly get by, but I couldn't do a whole lot more than that.
So is that, or what made you decide to work with me as opposed to doing something else or keeping with the classes that you had, or I don't know, pick an app or something?
Sure. I worked with you, frankly, because I was seeking out another way to learn French, and I was looking online, and I kept coming across the reviews about you, and I listened, frankly, to the testimonials, and the testimonials were very strong. And what I noticed also was that the testimonials were being given with, or by rather, it would appear to have been native English speakers. So English was their first language,
Yes.
which was plain to me. And I thought, well, if they can do it, then maybe I can try it as well. So I was willing to give it a try. Yep.
And so can you tell us if you've seen any results ever since? It's been, I think, 5 months roughly that we've been working together. What does it look like now?
Well, I think it looks significantly different, enough to comment on the difference. I think more and more before I started working with you, I had a very bad habit of thinking in English and then translating in my head and then saying it out loud. And it wasn't always correct, for sure. But that was how I did everything. And not that my teacher here in Canada taught me to do that. It's just the way I did it. And there wasn't a conscientious effort to try and break that rule. So now I would say I definitely have noticed a difference. And I'm starting to notice that I'm starting to think in French. And I'm starting to notice that I think all the time in French. In terms of saying something. I say little snippets of words now in French just to myself and out loud and whatnot. So I think in 5 months, it's been very systematic, or very, very consistent is probably the better word there, in that we meet every week, and that's obviously my choice, but I've made an effort to meet every week with you pretty much. And I think it's been, the one-on-one time, I think, has been really good. I mean, a full hour of speaking and listening to French with you, I think, has been really, really good for me.
In your written feedback, there is sort of a red thread or like a recurring topic of the judgment or the safe space, or like you said that a thing you like is that I never make you feel dumb or guilty. And I
No.
was wondering if you could speak to that, because I don't think anyone has spoken about that in any video testimonial so far. And I think it
Oh,
is indeed an important feature of the way I work or the way we work together. So maybe you could tell us a bit more.
okay. Well, I think probably like most people, when you start to learn something, especially as an adult, you have this feeling somewhere back there that you should already be able to do this. As ridiculous as that thought is, because you don't know how to do it, you still think you should be able to do it because you're an adult. And I have to say, it's been really easy working with you, very easy working with you, in that you've been, I think you use the word coach every so often, and you really are a coach. And also you're a coach. A lot of times, hockey is a big game here in Canada. Sports are big all over the world. And oftentimes you can be made to push yourself harder, and you're not doing what you should be doing, and you're not doing it well enough. And that's somewhat of a method for some coaches in sports, and being made to feel bad or guilty that you're not doing as well as you should. So kind of come along that much faster. And I never have had that with you ever. In fact, you've taken time on occasion to just talk about my mental my mental space, and I've been able to walk away from those sessions feeling very good about myself, and feeling even more encouraged to make the mistakes, and because by making the mistakes, obviously, I'll get better, kind of thing, right? And I've just always appreciated that approach, always. Yeah.
Great. I know you haven't dabbled too much with it, but maybe you can tell a thing or two about the accelerator, maybe the workshops or the Facebook group. What was your experience? Albeit small.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, to do a whole lot more than I do. But what I do find, I think your workshops are very well thought out, very well delivered. You take the time, people are there through the Zoom meeting or whatever, people are there and they ask the questions, and obviously people feel comfortable with you because they're comfortable asking their questions, whatever they may be. And I find your workshops are really good. I was listening to your to workshop number 10 just the other night. I got about halfway through it. I haven't had a chance to finish the rest of it.
It's very long.
It's very
2 hours
long
about manifesting. So
yeah. But that's what that workshop is what reminded me of a little point about my father, which I recently wrote about, which I recently wrote terribly about, but nevertheless.
I wouldn't say it was terrible. I think it was pretty good, but
well, thank you. No, but I think your workshops are, you clearly put a lot of work into them, and you clearly, I think also what I see is I see that you enjoy being a teacher, because it's truly the teacher that's willing to take the time to explain things to people and put as much effort into explaining it, and as much depth of subject. And I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you. Is there something you would like to say to the people who are maybe still on the fence? Should I not like hire this weird guy off the internet?
Well, in this day and age, and especially at this time, now I did this 5 months ago, pre-COVID. I fear our lives are going to be pre and post-COVID now. But post-COVID, I would say pre-COVID, I was willing to take a chance and work with somebody that's halfway around the world. Canada to Vienna is quite a distance, to say the least. So there would never, or not never, but not a huge chance of ever running into you and spending a little bit of one-on-one time. But I have to say, you come into my home once a week. We're on the internet. I've gone on, and I'm not a young woman, obviously, and I am telling people that are half my age what I'm doing, and they're surprised, to say the least. And I would tell people to try it. the worst that can happen is it doesn't work for you and you don't ever do it again. So that's not a big deal, but try it because you might be pleasantly surprised. It's worked very well for me. And I kind of took that approach when I first did it. You know, what have I got to lose? I'll try it once and see what happens. And pretty much from the first go, it was a good thing for me. So I would say go for it. You can't lose.
All right, perfect. I think that's the word of the end.
Yeah.
That's my French. That's the word of the end. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much for recording the testimonial.
You're welcome. You're welcome.